Well, they're born with an imprint from whatever the genetic code was from parents, from grandparents. That's what constitution is. So that's why when I use that term, prakriti, that's what you came into the world with. So there's a pattern there. There's a set pattern that can't change. So if you're an apple seed, you will obviously become an apple tree. So just like a child. So to find a child's constitution, to know its imprint, then you will know how to tend, how to support that child, that young sprout, to grow and become a magnificent gift to this earth, and allowing those gifts to emerge and grow. So that's where the Constitution really comes in, very, very useful.
Now, you mentioned earlier Costa Rica. You've spent a lot of time there?
Over the last 10 years, we've been going, I think we've missed a few years, but most of those 10 years we've been going down for between 3 to 5 months. 3 to 5 months, during the winter months, obviously. And we were doing retreats down there.
Lovely. Was that with the Wigmore Institute? Or?
No, that was us doing our own retreats.
Oh, beautiful.
We just started, that's how we came together, that's how we started offering that and providing that. A lot of the things that we teach here, a lot of the lessons you could say that we learned in Costa Rica emerged by being there. Seeing rainforests about diversity, seeing nature in a very different, through different lenses than what I had experienced in Canada all these years. So you could say that we were, the whole time we lived there, we were being imbued, we were being taught. The elements were teaching us. Nature became our teacher, and we were like kids who were just so curious what was happening. So we were learning a lot, but people were also coming down and joining us for retreats.
Beautiful. So the path is to strip back the negative imprints, fill out with the positive imprints, and live your true calling. Is that simplified?
It is simplified, but I wouldn't push the negative ones away. I would say I would just integrate them. I would learn what were their lessons, what I learned from those things. So you might say it was a negative experience, be it a unhealthy relationship or choices you made in your diet, saying these were not healthy things, but they brought you to where you are now. So if you see it as lessons, learned lessons, to be able to learn from it and grow from there is important instead of just trying to push it aside, saying, nope, that never happened. In other words, denial or, you know. So.
Now I asked this of your wife, will peace prevail? I think she did the same thing.
I think it depends on the collective consciousness of the planet. It depends how many people awaken, what the shift is, how quickly people decide to wake up for that to occur. I believe it is our inner, it's our inner being, is pure love, peace. I think that's the main one that's there. But there's scars that go through, there's things that occur for people's upbringings, things like that, and those are the part that need to be addressed and healed. So I think the potential, and the reason I do what I do is because I believe that peace will prevail. I believe it will come through. I think we're reaching a point on the planet where enough is enough, and there's a real deep, deep heart yearning for that to occur. Doesn't matter what part of the world you come from, doesn't matter where the conflicts are, whatever's going on, be it from the ecological crisis that's there, be it the economy that's there, whatever those things are. I think people are reaching a place where there's a searching in their hearts to find another way. And I think that's why there needs to be, I call them bubbles, or centers that they're living a certain paradigm, they're living a certain way, so that people can see that there is another way to move forward compared to the way we have been going. Because I think most people know we cannot keep going where we're going. It's impossible. It's just impossible. The way we farm, the way we tend to the sick, the way we tend to the to kids the way we tend to seniors. Everything's reaching a peak, and I believe it's tipping. I believe it's happening now. There's that tipping that's occurring, and many people feel that. They know it. Some people are scared because they're not sure what it's going to look like on the outside, and some people do have a vision. So one of the things that we do with our apprentices here, with some of our students, is we do visioning here, and we sit around in a circle, and we all speak from, let's say, the year 2030. What does it look like in 2030? What's it feel like in 2030? What am I doing in 2030? What's their careers? What are their passions? What kind of songs are there? What do the streets look like? What's the transportation look like? What's the energy look like? What's the transportation look like? We'll bring in and every person just brings in whatever, so just almost like a brainstorming, and we're all just adding to it. And it's so powerful. After 20 minutes of sitting around with a group of 5-10 people, and then your whole body just, because you're speaking in the present tense. You are in 2030. And I believe that if we shared that with kids, like in grade 1s, grade 3s, grade 8s, grade, whatever, adults, anyone, speak, what does that look like in 2030? And know that every time you articulate, you speak it, you're planting a seed saying, that is what I'm desiring. And the other part, just to add to that, is that we all vote. We're all voting with our dollar. So whenever you buy something, know that you're saying, I want that in the future.
That's a really good point.
If I want organic apples and I buy organic apples, that means likelihood there will be organic apples in the future. And the reason they have 700 organic farms in Ontario is because people kept saying, we want organic, we want organic. And now over the last 20, 30 years, that has what has grown.
The education system. Do you have any thoughts about, you mentioned children a few times, and that's a passion of mine.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about when you're raising a child in mainstream society, would you suggest looking at alternative education like Montessori, or do you think teach at home?
I think they all have their pros and cons, and it depends on the parents. It depends on the adults of what will work for them, what approach will work for them, their lifestyle. They can be there at home. We have numerous people that we know here in London who are doing homeschooling. It sounds like it's quite a homeschooling community.
Right.
So it's not just by yourself with you and your kids, but these other parents that are also homeschooling, and they come together and they bring them out here, and we do herb walks here, we do edible walks here. They come out and experience what we're doing here. And it was funny. I did this. It was last year or the year before, and there's all these homeschoolers came and they brought their kids, and it was a very wide range from little toddlers to little tiny kids to, I don't know, like a few teenage kids were there. And I held up a dandelion leaf, and I said, because there was no dandelions in North America when the white man came over, and I said, why do you think this plant is here in North America now? Why did someone bring it here, from the old world? I don't know, this little girl, 3 or 4 years old, said, because it's pretty. And that's actually one of the main reasons it was brought over, as a beautiful flower. So that works. The homeschooling system really works. And I think the other models that are out there, the different alternative education systems, if it encourages and supports that creativity to flourish, so that it's coming from here, instead of just saying, here, study this, learn this, learn this, learn this, and it's sort of drilled into them, it stifles. It stifles that potential that's there. And I think the kids have an incredible, they could be teachers for us, because they're coming in with such an openness, because most of us already have a certain way. This is the way things are done, the way things have always been done. I think it was a few years ago, and somewhere in the West Coast, Portland or something like that, and I think it was a grade 6-year-old kid who broke or brought in a whole different level of solar energy. grade 6.
Amazing.
It didn't come from an adult. Even though adults were trying to figure out solar energy.
Yeah.
It's a science fair in this grade 6 because he didn't have all his conditions. And it's like he just looked at it and was like, hey, did that? And it's like, oh my God, it was just a breakthrough that happened.
Do you think that the children are coming in with different DNA today?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing that. Because when I moved here, I had volunteers or young people coming out and helping me, you know, in the 80s. And the people that are coming through now, wow.
Really?
It's really beautiful.
So there is a shift.
They're different. It's like the pavement's been already made. The ground is set now. It's different fertile soil now compared to where it was in 83. 83 organic was, you know, pretty odd. If you were vegetarian, that was pretty, you know, far-fetched. So now we're going from vegetarian to vegan to raw and becoming more and more accepted. You know, there's raw food restaurants now. In 83, I don't think there were very many at all in North America.
It's an industry now.
It's
really.
right. It's grown so much. You know, someone told me that organic food is going to be available in grocery stores by the year 2000. It's like, come on, you know. You know, our herbs are going to get in drugstores by the year 2000. I'll bet you $1 million they'll never get into the drugstores. Thank God I didn't make that bet.
Yes.
You know. Yoga. I mean, when you think of where that was in 83 compared to now, it's like, who hasn't heard of yoga? Who doesn't practice yoga, even on TV? So that's what I mean by the soil being fertile now.
Yes.
So these young beings who are being born in this world, that is sort of mainstream-like.
Yes.
So if organic was there 28 years ago to where we are now, just think where we're going to be in 10 or 20 years from now. And there isn't an escalation of how quickly things are changing now. I mean, think of where things were even 5 years ago.
Yes.
There's a rapidness that's going on, and people want to do it, and there's just a need for it as well.
What's been your biggest inspiration?
Nature. Nature. To me, I feel like I'll be a student of nature for the rest of my life because there's so many. Every time I walk, if you go to our forest, there's big, huge, enormous cherry trees in there, big oak trees in there. It's like a park. First time I walked onto this property, it was okay. It was nice, you know, run down, shabby. That's why I was able to afford it. But you walk into that forest, and I felt like I walked into a cathedral. And I walked into the forest in May, which meant all the spring flowers were in bloom, and these beautiful big trees that were in there. And people who lived here said, "We've really taken care of this forest, and really hope that you'll continue to take care of the forest." In other words, they were saying that to me. They became friends, and it's like, wow, knowing that they cared for that forest, and they were asking me to do that was beautiful. I'm not sure how many owners would do that or share that. So every time I walk into that forest, I feel like I walk into a cathedral or an incredible, magnificent university where there's all this wisdom that's there. And when you think of what is happening in the forest, I think we're just scratching the surface of what's really going on in that forest. If a forest can recycle itself 97%, how well do we do in cities? You know? When you say how much of our food is grown in the city, most cities is somewhere between 5-10%. And think of all the waste that's created there. A forest doesn't create waste.
It's our teacher.
You know, and it's not sustaining itself. It's regenerating. It's becoming more and more fertile. So to me, that's where my teacher, my inspiration comes from, is saying, I want to know how that works, and learning how to bring that forward into how I live here at our home, at our center, and to be able to share that. And so permaculture, forest gardening are very new, but in some ways they're the oldest way that every culture in the world was doing. You know, they were living permaculturally. It doesn't matter if you come from Australia or if you come from Hawaii or come from Europe or North America. They lived in there according to that region, according to what was there.